Well, I think the greatest obstacle right now is just the pace of change. Right now you see companies that appear and disappear, business lines that appear and disappear, and the pace of change, is exemplified by things like MySpace, which was all the rage, and then within about a couple of years it was gone, and I don't think anybody has a MySpace account anymore. I think it's caused us to look differently at how we prepare our leaders to respond in that sort of environment. One of the things that we've looked at in places like Afghanistan is where the change is so quick, where the enemy is causing such rapid response, that we have to think differently about organizations and the things that we ask of leaders that we never asked of them before, the scope and responsibilities that we give to them. It's much different, I think, than what we ever did before. We're asking young captains to lead areas the size of New Jersey, to take on the scope of responsibilities that might be that of a city manager. Things we never thought we could do before, and it continually changes and evolves. But I think what we can do now is prepare our leaders to think differently and to challenge the assumptions we have about leadership.
Okay.
We have to invest. Right now, there's a general understanding that when you have to cut your budgets, when you have to become leaner, that leader development is one of the things that falls below the line. And that's just right with peril. I saw an interesting statistic from Harvard Business Review that talked about the average age for when managers become managers is age 30. But they get their first leadership training at age 42. There's a 12-year gap there that we've got to somehow find a way to close, where we have to be willing to invest in these young men and women and say, we're going to prepare you before you go into that management position, not 12 years afterwards. We're going to give you the skills and tools you need to be successful from day one. And that investment has to occur all throughout people's career. Much like we do in the military, it's a regular injection of leader development to ensure that the men and women are prepared for their next step. I was a young lieutenant, and I demonstrated some initiative. I went to the commander and said, I'd like to develop this event for the troops. It was not something I was required to do. It was just something that I thought, it needs to be done. And this was something that it didn't resonate with me throughout my cadet career. I mean, I was slow, I think, to evolve and to embrace, fundamental leadership skills like that. And so once I became a lieutenant, and I did that one time, and I said, I kind of like this. I like demonstrating initiative. I like developing a plan. I like resourcing it, and I really like to execute it so it all comes together. The feeling that I got in pulling that together and leading my way through that helped me understand what leaders are supposed to do. And that, it was just a little thing, and I was just a young second lieutenant. But to me, I think I got bit by the bug and said, this is something I like to do, and I'm not looking back. One of my commanders when I was a captain was a guy named Randy Castro. West Point, class of 75. Just a phenomenal leader. And one thing I remember with Randy, we were doing a field exercise, and he said, hey Magness, I want you to meet me out in the field at this location. And my driver took me over there, and we both got out of our respective trucks, me and Randy Castro, and he took me off into the woods, just the two of us. I didn't know if I was going to get yelled at or what I had done, and he said, I just wanted to tell you that what you have done during this field training event has truly made a difference. And it was just the two of us. And it wasn't a lot of pomp and circumstance, but he reached into his pocket and he pulled out like a 10-cent ribbon and pinned it on my chest. And I felt like Superman. I felt like I would walk through fire for that man. And it really resonated with me that if you can connect with people You don't need to, have a big ceremony to make people feel like they matter. And he truly did that to me. And it was something that I've tried to do to make sure that people truly believe and they feel it, that I care and that I believe in what they're doing and that it matters. It's try to make every person feel like the entire operation depends on them. And that really is a challenge, especially as you increase in rank and responsibility and you've got thousands of people potentially in your organization, and you have to make sure each one of them believes that what they do matters, that if they didn't show up for work that day, that the operation would collapse, that they have such commitment, such focus, such drive, and such energy that they bring to everything they do because they feel like people are counting on them. And so that was a lesson that was transmitted to me, and it's what I try to do with people I work with to make sure that they feel that same way. I hired the wrong person, and I saw what an impact it can have on an organization. I was with the Army Corps of Engineers, and I thought I knew what we needed. I didn't solicit any advice from anyone else, and almost from day one, we found that this was the wrong person for the position. And it caused me to think differently. First of all, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and I don't have to be. That there are others whose input I should take into account. But it also, suggested that there may be no more important legacy that we have than the people that we put in positions, especially if they're going to be around for a while. So, to make good hires, to invest the time, to listen to others when you're doing that was certainly an important lesson for me. You need to be fit. But that fitness is balance. That you need to have an appropriate investment in physical fitness, in spiritual fitness, social fitness with your friends and family, and even mental fitness, continuing to challenge yourself to learn and develop and exposure to new ideas. When you have that kind of balance in your life, I think that gives you the kind of energy that you need. So that every day you come in and you've got it, you're on. And leadership, you can't have a bad day. You got to be on every single day. And I think you got to have that kind of fitness to keep you going. I try to expose myself to new ideas. And I like to write. I had an old professor that, challenged me when I was in graduate school to not audit my way through life. and that can often be the case where, we get all these great inputs, but unless we connect the dots, it's really just a bunch of ideas that are floating around there. And so I try to write. I have a blog, and I try to, put out things that I'm thinking about in terms of leadership. I wrote a book, on leadership, and it caused me to pull it all together. And so, for me, that kind of energizes me and helps me think about the world around me. So, I like to write. I like exposure to new, outside the box kind of ideas, and all of those get me thinking differently about leadership. It may be from a different paradigm than my own, but it certainly gives me ideas that I can bring to whatever I'm doing. I like to share with people kind of my leadership philosophy, and it's not just a single trait. It's kind of who I am. I call it the 7 B's of a leader. Be yourself, be positive, be mindful of others, be the best. Don't be satisfied with anything less than first place. Keep challenging yourself, be the best. Be fit. Be situationally aware, know what's going on around you, be ready to respond. And the last one is to be going somewhere. Have a vision for your life and for your organization, and drive people to accomplish more than they ever thought that they could do. And so, kind of the combination of all of those, that's my personal leadership philosophy, if you will. and you know, that's what kind of the characteristic that I try to, you know, embody in everything that I do and every organization I work with.